Hey, China just accelerated the future of robotics, and in this video I'm going to show you exactly why what they did is so serious and how it will impact us much sooner than we imagined. We're going to see not just one, but three breakthroughs at once. An artificial intelligence brain that learns on its own by making mistakes, a super strong robot that pulls a car, and the most shocking of all, a humanoid robot that walks and talks and costs less than a cell phone. And I know what you must be thinking. But this is just a propaganda video. We've seen dancing robots before, and they never leave the lab. It turns out that what I'm going to show you here isn't just a pretty concept, it's a real plan with a price of $370 and a set date to hit the stores. The pace of this has exploded in recent weeks. In just a few months, they've gone from projects on paper to real products. Before I show you all the details, answer me one thing here in the comments. What shocks you more right off the bat? The idea of a robot that learns by making mistakes, just like us? Or the news of a robot that walks and talks costing less than a cell phone? Leave your first impression. Let's start with the most impressive part, which is the brain of these robots. The Chinese created a totally new artificial intelligence system, which is like a computer brain. The official name is Self-Evolving World Model, a very complicated name. But simply put, what it does is teach the robot to understand how the world really works, just like us. Think about how we function if you see a glass cup on the very edge of a table, without having to think much, that if you bump into it, it will fall and break. You don't need to do physics calculations in your head to know this. You just know this is what we call physical intuition or common sense about how things around us work. What this new artificial intelligence system does is give this to robots. Until today, most artificial intelligence programs learned in a passive way. Programmers showed them millions of hours of videos. The artificial intelligence would see a cup falling, but it didn't understand why it fell. It only learned to copy what it saw in the videos. This new system from China, created by an innovation center in Beijing along with universities, does the opposite. It learns in an active way, that is by doing, making mistakes and trying again. It's exactly the same way you learn to ride a bicycle. You didn't learn to ride a bicycle just by watching videos of other people riding, right? You had to get on the bicycle, try, you probably fell a few times, got up, adjusted your balance, tried again, and got better. This computer program does the same thing. The robot thinks about what it needs to do. For example, I need to pick up that cup without spilling it. Then it tries to do it first in a super realistic computer simulation. Then it analyzes the result like, oops, I almost dropped it, and corrects the plan for the next attempt. It stays in this cycle of trying, analyzing the error and learning from it until the movement's perfect. They are giving robots the chance to fall and learn from their tumbles. To be sure this was working, the scientists created a super test, a very difficult test, and this new artificial intelligence system got a top score. It was much better than all the other systems at understanding how things in the physical world really work. The researchers who created this said this is the big game changer. It's the missing piece for robots to stop being just computer programs that talk to you like the assistants you use on your cell phone, and to become machines that really understand the physical world around them. But of course, a super smart computer brain is useless if it doesn't have a robot body to use. And that's where China is attacking on two fronts at the same time, making cheap robots and making strong robots. First, let's talk about the price. They just unveiled what is being called the cheapest robot that looks like a person. The technical name for this is humanoid in the world. And it's not a toy store doll. It's a real robot that walks, talks, and moves on its own. Know what the price is? $1,370. Let's stop for a second to think about that. $1,370 is cheaper than many high-end cell phones we see people buying. If this news of a robot that walks, talks, and learns for less than the price of a new cell phone also surprised you, go ahead and use that impact and leave a like and leave the hype, because the speed at which they did this is even more impressive. Of course, it's not a giant robot. It's less than a meter tall, 94 centimeters, and weighs about 12 kilos. But that's the point. The company that made it isn't trying to compete with those huge, super expensive robots used in industries. They are trying to create a totally new category, the consumer robot that people can have at home or that can be used in schools. It's light, cheap, and made for people to learn. Even though it's cheap, it can walk, balance, and even dance with very smooth movements. And the coolest part is the way to program it. You don't need to be a computer genius. The system uses drag and drop blocks on the screen. Anyone, even someone who has never programmed, can create commands for it. It also works with voice interaction. This could completely change the robot market. Today, most robots that can walk decently cost a fortune, sometimes the price of a luxury car. This new one costs the price of a good cell phone. The most impressive part is the speed at which they did this. The company that created this robot was founded in September 2023. In less than 2 years, they've gone from zero to a real product ready to be sold. They want to create the same buzz and expectation that happens when a new cell phone is coming out, but this time for a robot. If they can manage to make many of these, it's possible we'll start seeing robots in schools and homes much sooner than anyone imagined. Okay, so that was the cheap robot focused on education. Now let's see the other side. Strength and capability. Researchers from another artificial intelligence academy in Beijing took another humanoid robot model and gave it a very difficult task to pull a car. And it wasn't a remote control toy car. It was a real car, a vehicle that weighs 400 kilos. The robot that did this weighs only 35 kilos and is 1.32 meters tall. Even so, it managed to pull the car. The most impressive thing here isn't even the brute force to pull. The car was on a smooth floor, which makes movement easier. What really catches the eye is the robot's balance and control. In the demonstration video, you can see the robot leaning all the way back, moving its feet very quickly to not slip, and constantly adjusting itself to not fall over. And it does all of this on its own without a remote control. It's pulling a weight that is 40 times its own weight, and it still doesn't topple over. This type of dynamic balance is super important for the real world. Think of a robot helping in a rescue mission in a place that collapsed. It would need to walk through broken and unstable terrain, maybe carrying heavy equipment without falling. The company that makes this strong robot was already known for showing it doing impressive things like doing backflips and running, but this test of pulling the car is different. It's not just to show off, it shows that the robot has practical control to do real work in the real world. What we can see from all this is that China is advancing on all fronts at the same time. They are building the brains, the artificial intelligence program that learns on its own by making mistakes. They are building the cheap body, the $370 robot for schools. And they are building the strong body, the robot that pulls the car. Of course, there are still many challenges. The biggest problem for all robots today is the hands, the dexterity of the hands. They can walk, run, and balance very well. But when it comes to doing delicate tasks, like picking up an egg without breaking it or buttoning a shirt, they are still very clumsy. Developers are working hard to improve this, but it should still take a few years. What is clear, though, is that the pace of development in China is much faster than anyone expected. This is supported by their own government. The Ministry of Industry and Information Technology of China, that's the name of the government body, publicly announced that their goal is to start manufacturing humanoid robots in large quantities starting in 2025. With so much money invested and all this speed, that idea that in 2026 a robot could walk into your house, prepare your food, and then clean up the mess starts to seem much more possible. And the main thing, it wouldn't do this because someone programmed every exact move, but because it using that new brain would finally be able to understand what it's doing. Now that you've seen the brain that learns on its own, the cheap robot focused on education, and the super strong robot that pulls a car, tell me your honest opinion in the comments. Which of these three fronts of advancement do you think will change the world faster? And are you more excited or more suspicious about all this speed? I personally am following this robot race very closely because the future is being built right now. If you also want to stay on top of this evolution and know when these machines will really be part of our daily lives, leave a like and leave the hype, so I know you guys like this type of subject. Thanks, and until next time,